Welcome, everybody, to the Bob Dodd Show. Today, I have a very special guest. I worked with him on Ozark. He is a two-time Emmy world champion.
I don't know about that. But.
We have today on the show, and it's a pleasure, Dave Chameides.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is like I've watched this on YouTube, and it's like, oh, we're here.
Right? It's different. People, when they come on, and they're like, oh, this is like you're really trying to do this.
Yeah, it's great. And like you've got all this tech and these cameras and everything is fantastic.
Yeah, big shout out to GVM Lights making lighting affordable for me.
Nice. Nice.
I can't say thank you enough. It's really strange. I mean, you're a cameraman, so camera gear, and
you'd be shocked, but yeah.
Well,
I work with people who do more than that.
Yeah. Well, the cameras that I'm using aren't like the best cameras, but they're really getting the job done for me.
No, it's amazing. I mean, like I said, I looked at the stuff on YouTube and I was like, wow, this is way up there. I didn't look at it and go, he should be using better cameras.
That's good. That's good. I'm experiencing technical difficulties, because of, quality issues.
Yeah. Welcome to 2025, right?
My gosh. Yeah. The liking and subscribing helps,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's an honor.
You made a huge impression on me when I was working with you on Ozark and helping Mark and helping Heath out, and just getting to know you the little bit that I did on Ozark. Man, lasting impression, and I'm so excited.
Oh man,
that you're
thank
here.
you. That's really kind of you.
Being an accomplished camera operator, a podcast host, you have one crazy good website for the op.
Thank you.
How do you find time to do that all?
That's a really good question. Not sleeping a lot helps, and not by choice, but by just I don't sleep really well. So it's like, well, I'm one of those people who's like, I'm up. Okay, I guess if I'm up, I might as well do something. So I get a lot of stuff done here and there. The website, which is theop.io. I mean, the whole thing came about because the podcast and the website. I sort of wish I had thought of it earlier, because it would have been a great thing to start during COVID.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I did not, but I did come up with the idea during the writers/actors strike, which of course we all know went on forever. And it was really about when I started doing Steadicam. It was back when you'd come in and hey, Tuesday we need you for one shot. You'll come in and then go home. And the camera operators then, for the most part, didn't really help us per se. Like they would go off on the truck and we'd do our thing, and then we'd leave and they'd come back in. So it was really hard to learn how to do.
So it wasn't like wrestling tag team.
No, it was not. It was not. And in fairness to them, there was this new thing that was coming out. I mean, it wasn't so new when I was there, but still, it was becoming. It wasn't commonplace to carry a Steadicam or anything. And there was a threat. I mean, I understand it. Like I totally get it. I might do the same thing. So anyway, I just during the writer's strike, I thought, I'd love to put something out there to sort of give back from what all the people that eventually taught me and what I've learned, and put it out there. And I actually just sat down with a piece of paper one day and said, what would I have wanted back then? I mean, obviously with the web, it wasn't back then. But if there was something, and I just literally started doodling on a piece of paper, and I talked to a couple friends, and like I usually do, I didn't completely think it through, and started doing it. So to your question of where do I find the time, during the strike, it was really super easy to get guests on and record them. So I would just bank them. And there was a point when I probably had 75 that I hadn't released, because I just knew at some point we're going to get back to work, which now on some level we are. And so now just whenever I have time, I do them. At first it was all in person. And I'll tell you the first, I think 2 or 3 maybe I did, were in my daughter's bedroom in the house in California. We lived in California at the time. And then I don't quite remember how. I think someone at Panavision, I was asking who I should talk to, and they were like, "Oh, you should talk to John Toll."
Okay.
And I'm thinking like, John Toll. I mean, I can't talk to John. So yeah, I'll give you his email. Email him. He'll talk to you. So I emailed John Toll, thinking like, And he goes, yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to. And all of a sudden I'm like, I can't have John Toll in my daughter's bedroom.
Oh man.
So I called Panavision Woodland Hills, and they were just fantastic. And I said, you've got this great theater there. Could I bring John over and record in the theater, thinking it'd be quiet and it'll have some gravitas, you know? Yeah, sure. And then it was so great. I just said, hey, as long as it's available, can I do this from now on? And so they were all in person. And then we moved east and we're here now. And so obviously it's a little harder to get in touch with everybody. So I do some of them remotely. I do some of them still in person. But
you have heavy hitters on your podcast.
It's pretty cool, actually. There's a couple coming up that I'm really excited for. And, the interesting thing is I don't know why, but especially when I tell them I want to talk about camera operators, people like actors, they're like, oh, I love camera operators. And, they talk about themselves too. Of course, you try to get stories and whatever, but I think that's why they kind of gravitate to it. But it's a blast.
I don't know if I'm pushing it here, but I feel like when I'm like watching camera operators do their thing, they're like scientists. You see the
It's
gears.
good that it looks that way.
Well, all right, so a guy that's in your situation when you're doing a Steadicam, or even if you're on a dolly, if you're on a dolly, you are literally like you're confined to that little spot, and then you and a teammate have to make it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But when it's you and the Steadicam, like how good are you at backing up?
You do get a weird sixth sense for it early on. Like, you hit a lot of things right off the bat. And actually to your point, even when I'm not on the dolly, I've got generally dolly grip, someone like Mark or someone like Heath on my back, making sure. And the thing is, you just really put one foot in front of, but 1 foot behind another, knowing, because I have complete faith in them that they're not going to lead me astray. So there's a lot of that old thing, like in the sitcoms where the people would fall backwards and someone had to catch them. It's very much like that. Although hopefully I'm not falling backwards. I sit there and I think to myself, like your other camera op buddies, that maybe don't do Steadicam. They're like, hey man, I'm moving. You mind walking backwards now? Exactly. But weirdly enough, like if you're moving a couch or whatever, I'll usually be the person. I'll go, hey, I'll take the backwards thing, because you do get used to it, and you also get a weird sixth sense of like where things are. I can't quite explain it, but just when you do, I've been doing this 35 years. It's like anything, you get used to things.
You had recently Jamie Lee Curtis on.
Yep.
And you had one of the episodes, Dave Emmerichs.
Emmerichs. Yeah.
Now, when you guys were talking on there, you so quickly touched base on the gentleman who created the
Steadicam, Garrett Brown.
Yeah. When was it, like 1970s or something that came out?
Yeah, it's sort of like 70, 74, 75, I think is, okay. There's a little bit about like when it was first brought to the company Cinema Products and when it actually went out there, but it was like 74.
How much did that change, like since that rig to now?
Oh, actually the interesting thing is, and I've spoken with Garrett about this. I know him. He's a wonderful, wonderful man and just brilliant. Materials have changed, batteries have gotten stronger, monitors have gotten better. But the thing about the Steadicam is it is still an arm, a sled with a gimbal and weights that you move around, and a vest. And that's really proof of concept. The Steadicam was, he was, he did a ton of things. But at the point where he was a cameraman, and cameras were getting smaller and they were getting handheld, and, there was this whole thing, cinema verite, which is what the French word basically for handheld, because it sounded better than handheld. And he thought there's got to be a better way to do this. So he went and tinkered and came up with this idea. And the interesting thing is, the vest basically straps onto you and becomes like your body almost. And the arm is really designed after your arm, to where, you've got a pivot point muscles, which are springs, and a pivot point on the gimbal. And the gimbal is actually based on whaling ships that used to have oil lamps. And not only whaling, obviously, any ships. And because the ship is going around, in the water, they would splash, the oil would splash out. So they put them on these three-way moving gimbals. And he's really into nautical history, and he saw that and he went, oh, there's something here. So the concept is exactly the same. The biggest thing that's changed now is there's these electronic stabilization aspects that are put onto it. But the thing still works essentially the same way it did 50 years ago, which is amazing.
What a brilliant man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Now with being the Steadicam operator, now you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, are you borrowing someone's Steadicam? Are you like renting one?
Yeah. So the way it happened was I had no concept of Steadicam, and I was in film school at NYU, and on a couple weekends I went to upstate New York, or maybe one weekend, I can't remember, and helped my buddy Corey Garriak, who's now a DP, shoot a horror movie called Crawdaddies. That was just this, and it was one of these things where we were working 26 hours and sleeping in the mud, and it was glorious, but it was horrible. And there was this guy who showed up with a quote unquote Steadicam that he had made out of like paint poles and buckets. And I remember the remote focus was a return mechanism from a VCR. His name was Bob Fisk, and I still know him. He's like this mad scientist guy. And I was like, what is this? And it sort of worked, but at the time it worked amazingly, but now I know it didn't quite. And he was like, oh, it's a Steadicam. And I put it in the back of my mind because I thought it was amazing. And then I came to LA and I was PAing, and I ran into a Steadicam operator on a PSA that I was doing for free named Kirk Gardner. And he put it on me. And I went, oh my God, I got to do this. How do I learn how to do this? And he said, you go take a class. So I took this one class, and then that led to another class. And then people basically said, look, you got to practice. And the only way to practice really is to own a rig, because nobody's going to lend you their rig. Yeah. And so I looked around to find an old rig that I could afford. Well, I couldn't afford it. And I don't remember. I think it was like $20,000. And I took out a loan, and my parents co-signed a loan, and I had, sold everything I owned to cover the down payment and everything. And I bought this old rig, and the rig that I bought was serial number 23. It was a Model 1, so it's the original ones. There were much newer ones, but and the first batch that they made they made 25. So it was literally like the first batch that they made.
Oh, wow.
And I think 6 people had owned it before me, and but it worked, right?
Yeah.
And so I just started hacking away at music videos and anything that would not always pay me, but sometimes pay me to do.
Rap videos were always
huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My gosh, I feel like I've done a couple rap videos, and I was like, I'm never doing this again.
There was a company in LA called FM Rocks, and on weekends we'd do like 4 rap videos, because they would get the equipment, and they would they'd try to get as much as they could for it, because they're paying for it again. And as a matter of fact, the DP that I used to work for all the time then was Matty Libatique, who's now a huge cinematographer. And the gaffer was Michael Bauman, who's now a huge cinematographer as well.
I feel like all the cinematographers, everyone starts in rap videos.
It's back then they certainly did. But it was great because like nobody really expected much of you. That you had to turn stuff in, but they didn't really care that much. So you just got to experiment. And like with the Steadicam, you're like, I wonder if you turn it upside down. And it was a lot of fun.
One little thing about rap videos, like for people who owned cameras, I remember they liked doing the rap video, even though it wasn't a lot of money. They always got paid cash right there, right when
you walked away with money in your pocket.
Yeah, you walked away.
It may have only been like $150, but it was $150.
Yeah,
that's
and
exactly
you had something for your portfolio.
Yep, no question.
But yeah, that's really cool, man. Like your podcast rocks. I think that your podcast is one of the best podcasts out there. Like if you want to have any kind of like, I say like a lot, I'm going to try not to.
Go for it.
But if you want to have any insight, man, there's so much insight for all the people that you bring on.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate that.
Some of the stories that are being passed back and forth, you feel like you're in the story.
Yeah.
So there's a really, really tight connection there.
You know what the weird thing is? I actually think that the podcast, benefited, at least at the beginning, and it's still that way, but from the strike. Because I'd sit down with these people and we'd sort of talk about this thing we kind of missed. And it was like really sort of like, oh yeah. And remember that, and there are people, I can't tell you, John Toll told me stories, and he was like, wow, I haven't thought about that in 20 years or, whatever. And it's just like really amazing. The thing that I try to do, and it's not hard for me, is, I'm excited to talk to these people and hear their stories, you know, and usually I'm excited to sort of extrapolate what, you know, someone who's coming up can learn from that. But I learn stuff when I mean, that's, I always tell people at the beginning of it, and I'm sure it's the same way here. Look, if you and I are having a good time, well, at least it's two people having a good time.
Yeah.
If nobody else likes it, that's whatever. But yeah, it's really been a lot of fun. And I've met people that I never in a million years would have met. I one day was just going through the AFI top 100 and like looking who operated this and who operated that, whatever. And I came across Kelvin Pike, who was Kubrick's operator on The Shining and Strangelove and 2001. And I looked on IMDb and it says when he was born, and it doesn't say anything else. And I'm like doing the math and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like 91 years old. What's the deal? So I emailed my buddy Danny Bishop in England. I said, do you know this guy? Is he alive? If he's alive, is he still like, with it? And Danny goes, yeah, totally. Here's his email. Email him. And so I emailed him and I ended up going over to England to interview him in person about working with Stanley Kubrick, which was just like, because I did it remotely, and for some technical reasons, and also he's 91 and he's got a heavy accent. It just wasn't great. And my very dear friend Jonathan Kaplan, a great director who unfortunately passed away recently, I played it for him and I said, can I release this? And he goes, it's a little tough. He goes, but you're going to go to England to interview him. I'm like, I can't go to England. He goes, Dave, you can't not. So I had some points, and I went over there and unbelievable. I mean, just amazing to talk to someone who's been in that, like, that realm,
well,
right?
I mean, here's the thing. So you have probably come across people you admired and looked up to, and now they're your peers.
Yeah, so, or at least we have a connection. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, your peers. You're really good at your job. I would say. I would say the peers, right? Like that's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
And to have what you have going on your podcast, I would agree with your friend. Like, you now have to do this now, because I'm not sure how much, like, do you look at the analytics of your podcast at all?
I actually pay no attention to it. I should, but I don't. And it's, part of me is a little afraid of it, and part of me is sort of like, I don't really care. I just do it. And I mean, a big part of it, like, Kelvin's a really good. Whether someone listens to it or not, or how many people listen to it, it's out there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I mean, like, look, I did, so, of course, as it started going and I was like, I guess I should keep doing this. At first I just talked to people I knew, and then I started going, well, who should I talk to and whatever. And someone at Panavision goes, you got to talk to Nick McLean. And I'm like, who's Nick McLean? And they'll look him up. Nick McLean was like the camera operator of the 1980s, best friends with Burt Reynolds. Wow. I mean, just like, and he wouldn't say this, but friends of his told me that he would pull up on the stage in his Mercedes, like pull into the doors, get out in his flip-flops, throw his keys to the second assistant and get on the camera. I mean, just like old school, like, and I'd never met him. I'm now friends with him. And the stories that he had were just like those things that, like, when we were growing up, we were like, oh, I bet Hollywood's really cool. And it's like, yeah, here's this thing. So it's just great, because he's done some things, but now there's, like, not that it's the only one, but there's this recorded history of all this stuff. And there have been one or two that I unfortunately have missed, that they've passed away, and I haven't been able to. So I sort of, especially with the older operators and DPs and directors and whatever, trying to sort of get that so I can capture that.
I mean, your net is wide. I mean, you got a lot of different crafts.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, it was like operators. And then there were a couple reasons. Number one, I started to go, well, there are all these other people I'm interested in. And then I also thought, well, because I sort of try to gear it towards, younger operators and younger filmmakers. And that's why, when I introduce it, I say, the art of visual storytelling, because it's all of us. I mean, you put an operator in a room, there's nothing going on. You need an actor, and you need a boom operator, you need, focus puller. So I try to talk to people about their jobs, and then also try to pull in, like, okay, so I was talking to a production designer yesterday, and I said, younger operator, like, what would you want them to know to be able to, like, show what you've done, and again, I learned stuff from it. So it's great. I really enjoy it.
One of the things that, like, I want to talk more about your podcast. I want to talk more about camera operating. you know, I don't think you need to look at the analytics of your podcast because I'm your analytic. It is really good.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate it. I hear from people all over that
Yeah.
they've seen it. I mean, it kind of amazes me when people are like, oh, you're that. Oh.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that makes me happy.
The quality of the fruit of what you're getting out of there. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like I remember, so I get a chance to listen to your podcast when I go to work and when I have downtime from doing other things while I'm at work.
Yep.
And time goes by really quick when you're sitting there listening to it because you're like, I don't want to go back to work. I want to hear the rest of this story.
That makes me happy on a level. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good.
Yeah.
And the humor that you have and the people that you have on, that they take really well to your humor.
Yeah.
Some people have similar humors, and so
there's a couple that I've realized like, oh, you're more serious than I thought you were. I mean, actually, the funny one that always cracks me up is like when I talk to John Toll. Like if you listen to it, the first 10 minutes, I'm very wooden until I realized like because I was honestly really nervous. I'm like, it's John Toll.
Yeah.
And then I realized he's like he kind of has a wicked sense of humor and he's really funny and then it sort of like lightened up but yeah, I mean I really just have a good time. I mean I think Jamie Lee Curtis was kind of shocked that I asked her about whether she was on Battle of the Network Stars, which is a huge. I remember watching when I was a kid. So anytime I meet someone who's on one of those things, I'm like, I gotta know. I gotta know. But I mean, some of the stuff is just me being 10 years old and wanting to ask people stuff.
No spoilers for that one because I haven't got it through it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She is really one of the best people in the world. She is so wonderful and so giving and so she's a lovely person. And
I do have a list here of different things topics I want to talk about.
Sure.
I have a lot of camera operator friends and they're not in Hollywood. They're in the commercial world, corporate. But I think that when you're a camera operator that's doing a Steadicam, gear can make or break your day, right?
100%.
So like if you got this heavy rig, your back's hurting at the end of the day. Yep. Like the stuff that they use weighs actual pounds. Like
yeah.
And I think you said it before, there's like all these weight and measures like on your arm to help you keep it balanced. That all weighs something. What does a Steadicam rig actually weigh? Like 20 pounds, 30 pounds?
No, it's more. I mean, well, it can be anything because it depends on what you're shooting. But when you're shooting, one of the TV shows that we work on, Ozark, for instance.
Yeah.
I mean, of the weight that I'm carrying, because that's the arm, the sled, the camera, the batteries, and whatever, it's probably approaching 50 pounds.
50 pounds.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. It takes its toll. There's part of me that's just completely used to it, and there's part of me that's also like, I've been doing this for 35 years. I'm really tired.
Yeah. Any arm wrestling championships in your back?
No. The weird thing is actually, and I'm not built. You don't need a lot of this weight, strength. It's core and back and legs a lot.
Yeah. What gear do you think helped you win the moment? Basically, like during because we did a lot of long nights on Ozark.
Oh,
I mean, I feel like Ozark was a ambitious like shooting schedule. Yeah. So when it came for you to perform, I mean, you were on a lot.
That show was a complete gift and a complete and the thing that I really liked about it, and I think a lot of this is probably Jason Bateman, is like they expected you to be here, like at your best. And I, it's tough. I mean, all of us, right? The grip department, the electric department, camera department. You had to bring it, and that was, and it shows on screen, I think, right?
Yeah,
So yeah.
I feel like I forget this. Hold on one second. So Heath and Mark had a question, and I'm actually interested in this as well.
Sure.
Sorry for the unprofessionalism. I'm looking at my phone. Mark had a good question. Let's see here. But or was it Heath?
So it's worth pointing out that I started on B camera on that season, and Heath was my dolly grip.
Yeah.
And then when Ari Isler, who's an amazing camera operator, he left, I went to A camera, and Mark was my dolly grip. So I got to work with both of them, and they're both fantastic.
Yeah. I should share the video. I have the video of us pieing them.
You'll definitely have to share that. Yeah. That's great.
But it was like, if you were gonna if you had a chance to go back and work on something that you already worked on because you loved it so much, which one would you want to go back to? What job?
Look, the defining job of my career was ER.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of reasons. I don't know that I'd want to go back. I mean, if I could go back to that time, I would do it. I don't think I would want to do it now, and I'll explain that. ER started, I don't remember what year, but by the time I got there, it was third season. And it was, I don't think most people realize this, it was the biggest show in the history of television. They got a 40 share, which means 40,000 people or TVs are on. And most number one TV shows prior to that, if they ever got like a 9 share, it was a big deal. So this was like on a level that nobody had seen. And I went in there after Guy B, who did an amazing job and set the table for me at 25 years old, and was the camera operator. There was one camera operator. I was a camera, Steadicam. There was no 2 cameras, anything. It was film. And so I'm 25. I'm on the biggest show in the history of television that's known for its Steadicam. And I'm being asked to do things that the first couple of days that I was there, weeks maybe, I just assumed I was going to get fired. I honestly, I didn't bring stuff on the truck because I was like, there's no way these people are keeping me. And then at some point I was like, I guess I'm staying. And then I really learned on an exponential level how to be an A-camera operator. So yeah, I mean, and not only that, but the bigger thing of that is it was such a great group of people, and the actors were fantastic, and the directors were fantastic, and it was just the top of the top of the top, and they were all so wonderful. And, you know, the actors just shot to stardom on that show. You know, Clooney was huge, and Tony Edwards and Juliana and Eric LaSalle and Noah Wiley, and, you know, it goes on and on and on. And so the set was almost like this place where they could like be normal. Like they didn't have to worry about being in the outside world. So they would hang out all the time, and we would go to things on weekends. And I'm 25, 26, 27 years old. And then in my third year there, I directed. And so, yeah, so, I mean, that was just a magical time. But the reason I say to go back then is I will never be that young on something that big at that point in my career.
Yeah.
It was like all those 3 things that came together, and it was just completely magical.
That's really sweet.
And I learned so much from that, not only about operating and you know, being an A-camera operator, but more about just, you know, how to work with people and a lot of, you had mentioned before, which really touched me a lot, was you said, you know, that on Ozark, I sometimes helped lighten the room.
You did, yeah.
And that was one of the things on ER. It was like, there were times where people would be like, why aren't we having fun?
Yeah.
We should be having fun. This is hard work. That's fine, but we should have fun. And I've tried to take that with me when I can.
With all the changes on Ozark, I mean, like, someone had to break the ice and keep the.
I don't know if it was only me. That was a good group of people, but I'm glad I made an impression. Anyway.
Yeah. Thanks for Jared. Keeping.
Jared, our boom operator. I'll tell you, I am absolutely in love with that man. He was just the best.
Yeah,
best.
He was real good with you. So I want to touch base on you directing too, but at the same time, like with being a camera operator, I don't know if many people know this or not, but you were up close and personal with the talent. Yeah. And not only are you get a relationship with the talent, but you get a relationship with everybody that is in the director tent or the you know, so there's a lot of different, I'm not going to use the word politics, but there is a lot of different things that you have to do. And you're basically, you want to please an actor because you don't want them to be uncomfortable, so they can do what they need to do to get the shot. Yep. You want to please your client. Yeah. So, you know, because I can only imagine that camera operators always feel like they're going to get fired.
I mean, I wouldn't quite say that, but there's a lot of times. But you know, when you say the client, it's like we joke about the fact that we've got mom and dad in the tent, the DP and the director, and you know, sometimes mom's happy with you and dad's not. So there's, you know, and you have to keep all. It's like you have to keep all these things in the air, and
juggle.
It can get tough, but you know, you mentioned being in with the actors. This is how I was taught, was that my job is to help keep as much of that away from the actors as possible because they have, I think, the hardest job on set. I could never do that. I don't understand how they do that. And sometimes you're the audience for them. And nowadays, you know, like sometimes you're not even there. Unfortunately, it drives me nuts when I'm all the way off set and not there. But so no, I take a lot of that to heart, and I take great pride when actors, are happy with the fact that I'm there. That means a lot to me.
Yeah. Well, how long do you think it takes to like from not knowing the person, breaking the ice, getting the relationship together so you guys can actually perform with one another?
Well, look, as far as performing with one another, you got to do it right off the bat. But I mean, some of them, some things I just worked with Glenn Powell, who did what's that, the football show that's on, Chad Powers. But I worked on something else with him, and 2 shots in, I was like, oh my God, you're basically like, you and I kind of grew up the same way and have the same stupid jokes and whatever. And immediately it was like this connection. And then some people, you just don't have a connection with, whatever. But what I've found and what I tell younger operators is, look, when you first meet an actor and you go in and you're gonna, try to establish a relationship, number one, you can't push the relationship. Number two, listen more than speak.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what they need, because some actors don't need much. Some actors need a lot. Some actors don't want a lot. There's all these different things. And I have a very specific thing, and I've mentioned this probably on the podcast before, but when I meet an actor the first day, and I'll always make sure that the timing is right. I don't do it immediately, like run up or whatever. But at some point I'll go, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm Dave and I'm the A camera operator. That's your B camera operator, dolly grip. I try to let them know, because there are all these people and nobody introduces anybody. Most of the time, they're very thankful for that. And I always go, hey, if it's cool to ask just 2 quick questions, what do you like to be called? And do you like to know frame sizes? And the reason I ask that is because, number one, it gives me information I can use. But 99% of the time, I can tell by the response that they give me and how they give it to me and how they respond to that, who they are and how we're going to do.
Is this along the lines of what, because you do seminars, correct?
Yeah.
And you also teach?
Yeah, I do actually teach. I teach Steadicam lessons. I also have a seminar called The Art of Visual Storytelling, where I break down shots and whatever, and a bunch of different things. But yeah.
So with that in mind, this is like part of that mission again that I think that you have to give back, and I'm just blown away by that, because you don't see grips doing that. You don't see electricians doing that. You do see a little bit of DPs doing that. You see camera operators do that.
Yeah.
When someone's aspiring grip, they, I don't want to say fall into the key positions a lot of times, but it seems like that when you're a key, you either kind of like didn't realize you were becoming the key, and then, you turn into the key.
Yeah.
Or you really wanted to be the key so bad that you went out and spent all the money to buy the gear.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I don't know too many people that are just like, I went to school for this, and it's like, I wanted to be a camera operator. Now I'm a key grip. Kind of a deal. Like that kind of a thing. But like, I think that's awesome with your mission to give back and help people.
Well, going back to Garrett Brown, when Garrett invented the Steadicam, and he's talked about this, there were a handful of people who were learning how to be operators who went, don't tell anybody else, because we can make a lot of money at this. And he said from day one, no. We share this with anybody who wants, because the more of us that are doing this well, the better we are, the more we get respect, the more we learn, et cetera, et cetera. So he had this like big tent. And as a Steadicam operator, you could talk to other Steadicam operators, at least older Steadicam operators, about this. I guess I'm an older Steadicam operator. That is something that is ingrained in us, that you want to learn, we'll teach you, because we want you to do it right, And so I think that sort of just spread for me. And it's so also cool. Like my parents brought me up that way.
Yeah. Back to the gear. What do you think, besides the actual arm and the vest, what other gear for Steadicam operators? I wanted to touch base on like where do you start? Like, what kind of gear do you need to buy? Are there brands out there that are more affordable, or?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's the big ones. Tiffin makes the Steadicam. I mean, truthfully, if you're talking about Steadicam, which is a trademark, Tiffin is the only thing that's out there. They make what's the Steadicam, but there are versions of that. Pro also makes one that's very well sought out. Arri now makes the Artemis. Those are sort of the big, I'm probably forgetting something, but those are the big 3 kind of. And then there there are knockoff brands that you can get, like they're Chinese knockoffs. I don't know what they're called or whatever. And I've honestly never seen any of those. People have asked me about them, and I always go, look, you can get a cheap monitor, you can get cheap batteries, you can get cheap center posts, all that could be. But the big thing is, like, if the gimbal is not centered and true, you're never going to be able to do really good work with it. So, it is one of those things on some level, you get what you pay for. But the off-brand versions, if you want, are getting better. I'm not going to lie to you. It's something that those companies deal with, I think.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't know too much about it. And I find it when someone is thinking about doing something, I come from the philosophy of like, buy once, cry once, and you have something that's good.
Yeah.
But as you can see, like even with my camera and the gear that I have, I had a big picture. I was trying to execute something, so I did have to think tactfully about like what do you get now?
Yeah, what do you get
later?
new versus what do you get used, and this and that. I mean, that's one thing that I would say. Well, first of all, I would say to anybody who's actually interested in it, go take a lesson. I teach private lessons. Greg Smith teaches private lessons out in LA. There are a lot of places where you can go for a 3-day lesson and see if it is something that you actually want to commit to, because like you kind of have to love it, and it's getting harder and harder. There are too many people. And then if you decide to go forward, there are really good older Steadicams out there that don't have all the bells and whistles but work perfectly well, that you can get used, and you're not breaking the bank. I mean, depending on what you think that is, obviously. Yeah,
the mentality of being a Steadicam op or even just a camera operator, the main question that I get, like when people find out that I'm in the film industry, they, I want to do camera.
Yeah.
Where do I start? And I said, well, sometimes you got to be a loader or a person that grabs whatever, or just a camera assistant or whatever. And then I really tell them, I say, well, I mean, do you have a family already? Like, do you own a home? Do you own a car?
Yeah.
How often do you work? Do you have other things?
Those are all great questions.
Yeah. Like I ask all these questions because I'm always, positive and say, no matter what it is, I think if you want to do it, you should try to do it.
Sure.
But you have to be ready for these things because work is, even when the work is really good, it's still here and there.
It's like I said, I mean, I occasionally will teach private Steadicam lessons. I was actually just up in Kentucky teaching a workshop as one of the it wasn't mine, but as one of the instructors. And I've struggled with that. But what I do is I'm just honest with people, and I go, look, there are a lot of people doing this, and it's expensive, and the business is not the greatest right now. I'm not going to lie to you. But on the other hand, I don't know if you're the person who's going to rise to the top, so I'm not going to tell you not to do this if you love it. But what I do say is you have to love this and want it, because it's not going to be easy, and there are going to be times when you are, scraping for change. And I mean, it's just part of it. And I did that, and other people have done it. So I'm not going to dissuade you, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's not easy, but if it's a passion, what passion is easy? I mean, that's just the way that is.
I always tell people to start with your iPhone.
But it's true. One of the things that I tell people is I go, look, go out and take pictures, learn how to frame something, like watch movies with the sound off, right? Yeah. Watch the visuals. I mean, there's so many things. And actually, but the thing that I think that not enough people do, go to art museums and look at Renaissance art and ask yourself why, Leonardo da Vinci framed that way. I mean, that's all framing. And the truth of the matter is, as much as we all want to think that we're these incredible artists, nobody's invented any new, nobody's come up with anything new in the last 500 years. We're all just redoing things that were done by the masters. You know? So there's so many easy ways to learn that stuff, or cheap. I should say, not easy.
How did you get started again?
I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut. I'll give you the truncated version. I saw Star Wars when I was 7 and wanted to be a Jedi Knight. I still want to be a Jedi Knight, but I found out I couldn't be a Jedi Knight. So then it suddenly hit me at some point, like, oh, people make movies. And I did go to film school, but at NYU, my sophomore year, because we had nothing to do, I drove out to California with 2 friends, slept on someone's floor, had no idea what I was doing. And I think on some level, looking back, I thought, Los Angeles was going to be like, Dave's here. And it was like, wah, wah, wah. It was just nothing. But I was sleeping on the floor of my buddy's mother's college roommate, Julia Gibson, who I owe everything to, who was a visual effects miniatures producer and knew some people who were doing this movie called Tremors, and called them up and said, you want a PA for $50 a day? And I was like, $50 a day? It might not have even been that much. And I can hear her on the phone like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. And she goes, go here. Here's the number. I still have the piece of paper. Like, go. Elaine Edsford was the producer, and the brothers who ran Forward Productions that we did all the miniature effects were Bob and Denny Skotek, who were Academy Award winning guys, did all these miniatures. And I went there, and it was like, go get coffee, and then we're sending you out for pizza, and the gaffer needs you to help light. I'm like, I don't know how to light. It's like, he'll teach you. And then it's like, we need you to make miniatures. I don't know how to make miniatures. We'll teach you. And it was just this thing where I was like, I was the guy who was the extra hands for everybody. And I did a full summer of that. It was unbelievable. And then I went back to school, and I dropped out because after a year, and I went to my parents and I said, I know you don't understand this, but it just doesn't make sense.
That seed has been planted.
Oh yeah. And it was just amazing. And then I ended up working on a movie called Clifford with them that nobody saw. And then T2, we blew up Los Angeles. I mean, and these guys, I remember very specifically T2, this is pre-internet.
That's Terminator 2, folks.
That's Terminator 2. T2, this guy comes in to do the pyrotechnics, and Denny is this little older guy. And he goes, you know who that is? And I was like, who's that? And he goes, that's Joe Viscoso. And I'm like, who's Joe Viscoso? And he goes, he blew up the Death Star. And I was just like, oh, like, are you kidding me? Like, that's a huge thing right there. So yeah, that was great. But I always had, like I said, I had seen the Steadicam version at school, and I always had that in the back of my mind. And at a certain point, I looked at miniatures, and I was like, I'm breathing caustic fumes all day. This can't be good. So I sort of, branched out, and the rest is history. But I've been very, very lucky, and I still am. And it's just been kind of a dream of a job.
What was your first break? Like, did you start out on C cam, or did you B cam start, or did you small projects and you were the main cam?
Yeah, it's a little like I said. I took those courses. I was an assistant for like a year and a half on like no budget, this and that and the other. And I mean, I think I did okay as a focus puller, but that was film, and it was a different. I sort of knew what I was doing, I guess. But then I bought the Steadicam, and I started just doing every student film and it was like, you're going to pay me $50. That's great. I actually found recently this old notebook that I had that had notes from different things, and it'd have the name of the music video on it, and it would be like $75 for me, $75 for the camera assistant I'm bringing, and $150 to rent a video tap for the camera. So the gear was making more than I was, but that's kind of how you learn. But really. So then I was just doing Steadicam. I would come in, and it's like, you're doing a shot, go home, do it. And then they'd sort of go, you can do C camera or whatever. I do remember very specifically that my big break, which was like the thing that was going to put me on the map, and I was like, I've made it, was I was pulled on to a TV show called Space Above and Beyond, which was, I don't even think it lasted a season. And, it was from the guys who made the X-Files. And I was either the A camera Steadicam operator or the B camera Steadicam operator. I'm a little confused on that, but the reason I am is because I lasted 4 days, and they fired me on the Friday.
Yeah.
And that was devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Was that the first time you got fired?
It's the first time I got fired, but it was also like, I thought this was going to be the thing that put me on the map. And it was absolutely devastating. And it was a rough weekend. And Monday I picked myself up, and I said, you know what? I am going to go on every set I can and find out everything I can about, because the next time this comes up, I'm not going to be this guy. Yeah. And I sort of realized, like, you know what? I didn't know what to do. I had never been in that kind of situation before. And then the next, not immediately, but the next job as a camera operator, as a full-time camera operator I got was ER. The call I got was for ER, and I was thankfully ready for that. But the big break was ER. I mean, by a long shot.
Yeah. And then from there you direct. How many episodes did you direct?
I only directed one episode because
Okay.
they had this weird thing that they started, but I was sort of the first member. I believe I was the first member of the crew to direct. And I didn't even ask for it, by the way. Jonathan Kaplan, who I mentioned earlier, a phenomenal director, who has since passed away and is really a mentor of mine. He showed up in season 4, so my second year. And one of the things that I would do because we were using Steadicam, it's hard to think back now, but we were using Steadicam on a level on TV that nobody was using.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not done that way. And so some of the directors, when they came in, were like, hey, how do you guys usually do this? And like, how long can you go? And da, da, da. So I used to say to the directors, and a lot of them would take me up on it because I enjoyed it also. Hey, I have the ability to get in here on weekends. If you're prepping, would you like me to come in and prep with you? And I can give you ideas of what we do and whatever. So Jonathan said, yeah, come on in. And he's this like grumpy old guy, and but just an amazing individual. And very quickly he went, well, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And I'm like,
Yeah.
He's like, no, come on, you know how to do the show. What do you? And by the end of the weekend, he said, when are you directing? And I was like, I'm camera operator. He said, you need to be direct. And I was like, John, you're out of your mind. And he said, I'm going to go talk to them. And he went upstairs and he said, when are you giving this kid a shot? Like, you guys. And so they came to me and they said, listen, next season we want to give you a shot. I had already decided that the third season would be my last season. And the reason I did that was because my first season, like, they had to push me out the door at the end of the night. Like, I would have slept there. I was so excited. My second season, I could not wait to get up for work. And by the third season, I was starting to go, and it was just getting normal because I did 63 episodes of it when I was done. And I started to think about it and I thought, I'm like I said before, I'm this young at this point in my career on this big of a show. I want to leave while it still is exciting to me and not let it become like, like I don't want to be jaded about it. And that was my decision. And so I directed, but I said, like this, either way, this is going to be my last season. So, and they said, well, if you leave, we're not going to give you another episode. And I said, that's fine and whatever.
Yeah.
So actually I went from there to Tommy Shalami called me for The West Wing. And I, helped sort of set the look for that show with Tom Del Ruth. And that was amazing. And I was supposed to direct there, but there was some politics that happened and that didn't happen. But it was just an amazing experience. And the other thing about ER, because you asked about sort of defining stuff, I was one of the main camera operators on the live show. We had a live episode that we ended up winning one of the Emmys for. And it was just unbelievable because,
doing it live.
I've never done anything live before. And it was like, suddenly there's someone screaming in your ear, like camera 52, take 20. And I was totally overwhelmed. And the live guys who came in, I didn't know, thankfully at the time, were the best in the business, but there was no internet, so I couldn't look them up.
Sure.
And they were so excited to work with me because I did narrative, which they hadn't done as much. And I was so excited to work with them because they'd done live. And so we all sort of like learned from each other. It was this great experience.
What an awesome way to cut your teeth.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I mean, and I had no idea at the time how lucky I was on every level.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
I mean, that goes to, this is where you developed your chops. I'm sure you get new chops every project you work on.
No, but that was the building blocks.
Yeah.
And everything else is just sort of refinement after that. Yeah.
Man, that's cool.
Yeah.
So if you guys are thinking about starting be a camera person, just get a job on ER.
Yeah. There you go.
Now, so I have some things to look here and look at here, and I think you already answered this question. But my wife wanted to know, like, being that you have been in the industry for a long time, what project do you think you grew the most on? Like,
I mean, I hate to say it, but ER,
yeah,
no question. West Wing, I definitely grew the most. I grew a fair amount on. I will say, there's a movie called Shame, which is the first time that I worked with Sean Bobbitt and Steve McQueen. And I've since done a couple projects with Sean and Steve and multiple projects with Sean. And Sean is one of the best cinematographers I've ever worked with. And every time I work with him, I learn something new. And he requires sort of a certain level of, Sean sort of got me to the point where it was like, it's never good enough. Yeah. And not in a terrible way, like you're frustrated, but there's always something you can do better. And And I will also say it's not a project per se, but I've done a lot of work with John Lindley, cinematographer, and he has taught me sort of so much about storytelling and about simplicity and how when you simplify shots, they tend to get better. And I've learned so much from him. Yeah, I think it's more people than Tommy Shalami, who created The West Wing. I have learned so much from him over the years. And Jonathan Kaplan, who I mentioned before. So I think it's more. I think it's more people than projects per se.
Yeah. That's interesting because it is the people.
It's absolutely the people, and I learned tons from all of those guys, and the ones that I still get to work with, who are still working. There's still stuff that I learn.
Yeah,
and I think that's the thing that I like the most about this business, and I think is problematic if it's not the case. If you're not learning, if you think you know it all, you really need to find another job.
Yeah, I feel that way. Like, do you know who Scott Howe is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking to him, and it just like, I like hearing his outlook on things.
Yeah.
Because he has that same mentality. There's always something new. You just got to find it. Like, so like talking to him, I mean, it's just, people like that inspire me. I mean, I'm in transportation now, so it's, there's always going to be a new way to tackle road closures. But when it comes to movement in film and what you do, because like when you're doing your best when the viewer doesn't know you're doing anything at all.
It's so funny you say that, because the guy who taught me Steadicam, his name was Bob Crone. He's no longer around, but Bob was, I'm going to say he was 63 when he taught me. And, he's an older guy and whatever. And the entire class, it was a week-long class, he didn't put the Steadicam on. And, we'd go back at night and drink and go, oh, the guy's, he's old and whatever. And then when we did the final shot, which was sort of the test, he put it on to show it to us. And I get goosebumps when I think about how he moved. I've never seen it. He was like a ballet dancer. It was effortless. And he was, it was astonishing. I've never seen anybody. If I could ever move like that, I'll be happy. But at the end of it, he told us, and it's something I've mentioned before, it's on the website, I take it to heart, is the irony of what we do is if we do it well, nobody knows we did it.
Yeah.
And that's, I try that in everything I do as an operator. I also try to do that on set. Is like, we have fun and whatever, but at the end of the day, you want to just be part of the thing and sort of not stand out too much and not make it about you. Chris Chulak is a great director that I've worked with a lot on ER and Third Watch and other things. Has a saying, the star of the movie is the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's, so you said it before I even got to it. It's like, you want to disappear into there because you don't want to take away from the story.
Well, I think that, I think I came to the conclusion of that just from hearing your podcast. I mean, I may have heard it there before, I
mention it every once in a while.
Yeah. So like,
but other people do too. It's not just me.
Yeah, but it's something to really hang on because if you're a viewer of a movie, there is a lot of things that can pull your attention away.
Yeah.
And if you are a person, I don't know, get bored of the storyline or whatever, then you're that person that hangs on to actually what's being shot and filmed because maybe you hang on to the beauty or the grit or whatever you connect with. Yeah. And I think with the art of storytelling and with your, website, people, like if you go to the op.io, if you go there and you just look at the website and just surf the website and give it some time too. Don't just like get on and get off because
there's a lot there.
There's a lot that, and you're going to come across basically a glossary of terms that we use in the film industry. And when I first started this podcast, comments that I would get in the text messages, not in YouTube or whatever, they would always, you use too much film jargon. So now I'm going to say, go to the op.io and then you can learn out what these words are.
There's a thing called the words. The funny thing is there's a couple things about the website. Number one, I envision, and I'd made like I put my website for my reel together, but I never made anything like this before. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but I tend to do a lot of things that I don't know what I'm doing, and I figure it out as I go. I do a lot of YouTubing, and I find, some kid in France who's like explaining how to do something or whatever. But I kind of wanted it to be this long hallway with doors that you opened up, and there were interesting things in there, and then you come back out and you go somewhere else. But the words, which is that section that's called, I just felt like I needed more stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I'll put a glossary of words on there. And then my daughter, who's an artist, came up with that idea of just floating over the words and them coming up. And I was like, well, how will that work? She's like, I don't know, figure that out. So I found someone on the internet who would help me out and make it. But if you go to the website, the one thing that there's a lot of stuff on there, but look for something called The Breakdown. And The Breakdown is where some of the best camera operators in the business show a shot and completely explain what went into it. And
did they do that just for your website? Or is this?
No, it's something that I mean, I'm not going to say I came up with it. The idea of having someone explain something is as old as time. But I basically said, I want you to, so I contact these people and go, hey, do you have a shot you'd like to do? So like Larry McConkey and I, who's an amazing Steadicam operator, we're slowly working through all these things. And so like, the first one, I think the first one I did with him was Carlito's Way. There's this huge, huge shot in there that he did. And classic Larry, he goes, hey, if you want, I have the video tap recording, and you can hear Brian and I cueing Larry, cueing Al. Would that be good? And I'm like, yeah, Larry, that would be great. So he's got it on there. And it's just, I will tell you that I'm listening. I'm like the audience. They can see me, but I don't generally get involved in those. I don't have my footprint on them. But I learn something every time I do one of those. They're amazing. There's another amazing one is my friend Gary Malouf did a handheld shot. There was one full episode for The Bear, and you watch it as he's explaining it, and it's just fascinating. It's great.
You're becoming a curator.
Well, that's sort of what it's become a little bit, and I will say it's a little bit of a heavy thing if you start something and then it becomes something, and then you're like, oh God, I got to keep this.
Well, I think that because not that I see the future, but I do see this becoming bigger. So you're gonna possibly have to get someone that can help you, another operator that knows your vision.
I've sort of messed around with it a little bit. I have two, I hate to call them interns because there's so much more than that, but there's a woman named Hannah who was at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, but the one not here in Atlanta, but down in Savannah, who I met through someone who said, she contacted me and she goes, I love your website. How do I help? And I'm like, wow, okay, great. And so she started cutting all the trailers and whatnot. And then there's another woman, Malia, out in California, who I met at Chapman University when I spoke there. And she texted me constantly the next couple of days, like, how do I help you? And so she does all my social media and stuff. So there are people who help. But I don't know. There's all these things I want to do, and there's time and there's life. And
if you were going to put did you put a reel up for yourself describing one of your shots?
I haven't done one. No, I've sort of stayed off of that. But the seminar that I have a seminar called the Art of Visual Storytelling, which I've taught in schools in Europe and the United States and AFI and whatever, is actually doing exactly that. So I show a shot from The West Wing, I show a shot from Ozark, I show a shot from Donnie Darko, and I explain all the departments and what went into getting the shot. And that was the idea that made me go, oh, I should have other operators do this, but I haven't done one on. I apologize, that's not true. There is one. I showed up for, and I'm not going to remember the name of the show. It's an Apple show that we shot in Chicago. But anyway, I showed up, and my friend Jeff Greeley goes, "You want to come to Chicago and work easy, do an easy job for 4 days?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's going to be this techno crane shot that you do once a day over the same thing as they fill this thing up with concrete." And I'm like, and he goes, "The rest of the day you can go hang out in Chicago." And I'm like, fly me in. So I go in, I show up, Will Rexer is the DP, and he goes, "It's changed a little bit." And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking maybe we're going back and forth. It's now a Ronin shot that starts inside this cube and follows a double who's not the actor, but supposed to be the actor. And as he comes out, comes around the side as he's turning back, and then we see the cube, and then we hook onto a descender rig that's already in place and go 8 stories up or whatever. And I was like, wow. And so when all this was done, it's a whole thing, but it's on there. I called the rigging grip. I called the rigging grip I called the key grip who did the rigging ahead of time, and then I called the grip that the key grip who worked with me on the day, because it took like 8 of us to do it. We didn't have walkies; it was nuts. And then myself, and we all explained our versions of like how this became what it was, and it ended up being this really cool shot. So that's the only thing I'm involved in there. But the rest of it, I leave it to people who are better than me.
Yeah, I think one of Mark's questions were was, let's see.
Mark, if you're watching, you rock.
Yeah, he does rock.
He does rock. We're about to do a show together. I'm very, very
that's
excited
so
to have
cool.
him with me.
So, he wanted me to talk about your tutorials and stuff like that. So that's what it was. So Heath says, the hardest steady shot he's done. What was the hardest steady shot he's done? And why do right-handers tend to have the sled on the left side and then vice versa?
I don't know that I can answer the second question, but I'll give it a shot. The hardest shot, I think it gets broken down into a number of things. I know this is going to sound really, really stupid, but there is a shot that still plagues me that is such a stupid shot, and it's not an interesting shot, but it was in The Wedding Planner with Jennifer Lopez. And all it is she comes walking out the front of a building, and it's that thing where there's a little thing and there's 2 steps that go down and whatever. And it's very hard, depending on the angle, to not, to hold the headroom while you're going down and keep it up in the air so that you don't drop and you don't sort of, and the thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to telegraph, I'm going downstairs and then she's going to go downstairs. And I just could never get it to the point where, and it still plagues me. It's a stupid shot. Nobody has ever, it's barely in the movie. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, oh, that drives me nuts. Physically, there is a shot in an episode 3 of The West Wing called 5 Votes Down that was like 3.5 minutes. It was film, probably 9 speaking parts, 2 sets of stairs. It just was a massive, massive shot. And I think we shot it 16 times.
Wow.
That was a tough one. I would not want to do that today. I was a little younger back then.
What was the longest like oneer you had to do?
The longest oneer probably, so it goes 2 ways. There was an art piece that I did that ended up getting cut up, but the idea was, it was this, who was the director? The director was a big commercial director from England, and I can't think of his name, but the idea was we had this huge warehouse, and he brought in these actors who were pretending that they were recovering meth addicts. And he walked them through, and so like one area had 200 birthday cards. And these were all the birthday cards they never spent because they spent all their money on drugs and whatever. So it was this anti-drug thing. And it ended up being cut up, but we shot it just continuously with him walking around. And they could go anywhere they wanted, and I just was making frames. And I was in the rig, it was video, I was in the rig for like, I think 85 minutes or something like that.
What?
And just constantly finding new frames. And it was interesting, but it was rough. As far as like a narrative shot, I think it probably is ER. There was an episode that Tony Edwards directed, where we had one 9-minute shot that then whip panned into a 6-minute shot. And in one day we shot 1 act of the show.
My.
And that was with a 1,000-foot mag. I remember it was it was rough.
That was actually film.
Yeah, it was film. But the thing about those is the hardest part of those is just remembering all the cues, remembering everything, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the one to screw up, because you're like, especially like as it gets to
continuity is key, and whether if it's the actor that needs it or the cameraman that needs it.
Yeah, exactly. As far as I don't know that I could totally answer Heath's question about the side, but the thing is, some people hold it here and some people hold it here. And the funny thing is, I hold it on the left, which is what most people do. We call it goofy when it's on the right. But your 2 hands, there's your power hand when you're on this side, which is this moves the arm up and down and puts it where it is, and your finesse hand, which this is all the finesse with my left. Other than Steadicam, my left hand could disappear, and not my left. I can't do anything with my left hand.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason, the finesse, I can do it. I don't understand it.
I wanted to touch base because you done music videos.
Yep.
There's a band called OK Go. Are you familiar with OK Go?
Of course, I love OK Go. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you had to be like a cameraman for them, you know, out of one of their videos, because like they have a crazy oneer, you know.
All of them are crazy oneers, right? I mean, I don't know if they're all oneers, but maybe they are.
No.
You're talking about the like Rube Goldberg one, where all the things are falling? Well, there's so many of them, right?
Well, yeah, one of them was like they deal with paint.
Yeah, the paint. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of paint, but yeah.
Well, yeah, they do a lot of paint, don't they?
Well, the one in the airplane, I think, is also a oneer.
No, they that's all chopped up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's all chopped up.
I guess maybe I'm so enamored when I'm watching it.
Well, I mean, it looks like a oneer because like you have to think like it goes up and it goes down.
It couldn't have been a oneer. You're absolutely right.
It goes down.
Of course. Yeah.
But I think if you go to YouTube, you can watch the making of that.
I've seen some of that. Now that I'm thinking about it,
that's just as impressive as the video.
It's incredible.
But yeah, I think the one with the paint, it's like a oneer, but it's like 30 seconds. And they slow it down.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That one kind of blew my mind.
Yeah. Like so bringing up OK Go.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to say, what video would you want to be a cameraman on?
I mean, to be honest, I would want to be involved in any of the things they do, just because whether visually it's cool or not. You know, those would be amazing.
Yeah.
There's no question.
And were you on any project that gave you the artistic? Because like what you do is it's art.
Oh, I mean,
completely.
Yeah, there's artistic aspects. To it, yeah.
And was there any other? Was there a show or a project that let you kind of do anything like wild or crazy like that? Besides the one with the...
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure there are. Sometimes when I get asked about things that I've done, I totally forget. There's a really, well, I mean, you're saying that wasn't designed, that like I put my fingerprint on.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that I put my fingerprint on everything. It's just a question of how much is involved. Usually with the narrative stuff, it's in the planning of it that I get pretty involved with. I can't really think of anything offhand.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Like you've done,
because now I'm thinking about OK Go.
Well, your body of work is huge, and you know, I think that when you look at all of the things that you're a part of, I mean, Donnie Darko, you brought it up, like Donnie Darko, that is not only a big hit, but it's a cult classic.
Although when it came out, it kind of didn't do well, and then on DVD it just took off, and people started sharing it, and it just has this whole. I get more street cred out of Donnie Darko than anything else. Yeah.
I saw Donnie Darko in Squirrel Hill of Pittsburgh. Well, it's like right outside of Pittsburgh, Squirrel Hill, and they're one little artsy. They had like an artsy.
Okay.
Theater, you know, it's like a place that would show kids too, you know, the movie Kids. Yeah. So I saw Donnie Darko, I think when it was coming out, you know, because like I remember the scenes with the trailing ghost blob. You know what I mean? And that was like crazy effects. That's cool. Like how do they do that?
It was a wild show. And I remember reading the script and going, this is a really good script.
Yeah. And I think that also played in like the way a lot of people were like feeling like I mean, independent music was kind of dark around that time.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And you know, who's not a fan of Tears for Fears?
Yeah. I mean, that song works so well in that movie, Mad World. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's a fun one to have been a part of. There's no question about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. As far as Donnie Darko goes, and all of the other projects, well, you know, when films are coming at you, is your circle big enough that you can say no to a project like, oh, that's not really for me? Or
I mean, well, it used to be. Now you say yes to everything. There have been projects that I've turned down. I mean, like for instance, I joke about it, but it really is true. Like I won't do vampire movies. I don't want to work all night. I'm too old.
That nighttime work.
And there was something very early on with a musician who I had some moral issues with that I said I didn't want to be a part of that, just because I thought, you know, I don't want to tell. I'll tell you, I got called to do, and nothing against it, but I got called to do, I don't know the name of the show. I got called to do that show that Al Pacino was in about the Nazi hunters. It's
I
on
don't know.
Showtime. I can't. It was on there like 2 years ago. It was a great show, and so I turned it on and I watched it, and I just it was. There was like, it just affected me, and I was like, I don't think I want to.
Bad vibe.
Another show I got called for, actually, which I did a couple days on, and they asked me if I wanted to stay, was Criminal Minds, and it was just so dark. I was like, I don't want this in my head all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. So yeah, I think sometimes you there's things that maybe morally. I mean, it's very rare that it's morally, but maybe that. But you have to be true to yourself, right? And it's like, yeah, this is a job, but I don't want to go home and like not be able to get this out of my head, and you know,
Yeah.
too dark.
I kind of like think like you are so close to the action on set where you have to. So when he's on set, people don't get it the first take. Sometimes they don't get it the first 7 takes, and you have to. I remember I was on a TV show called Banshee.
Okay, I remember
and
Banshee.
I had a real rough time because there was like this like orgy scene, and it was like a devil worship orgy scene, and there's these naked people hanging out, and I don't know if I'm yeah, I mean like it's not a spoiler, it's out, but anyway, I remember feeling like not like I shouldn't be here.
This is weird.
Yeah, this is weird. But we had a instance where we had what do you call it? A fat boy fall down. That's a Kino light. I don't know if we use Kinos
Not an
anymore.
actual fat boy.
Yeah, like so it was a 2-foot 4-bank Kino light fell on a pool table where they were like cutting this woman up.
Oh, jeez.
So and it hit and it came down and it came close to hitting an actor.
yeah.
So we were all like stand by. So a couple of us electricians,
Right nearby.
Yeah, we had to be nearby.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
it's weird. Yeah. People always ask me about that. It's like, what's shooting sex scenes like? And it's like, it's awkward and sort of boring after a while. And like, and you just want to get through it, and you just want to get. And usually the actors are like, just do what you have to do. Let's just get this over.
Yeah, and you have to look at each other when it's over.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of times, like I'm in there like 10 inches from them, you know, and it's yeah. Everyone's like, it must be amazing. It's like, it really isn't.
Yeah, it's pretty awkward. And then you meet their spouse or whatever.
Yeah. But you know, but it's work. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, crazy moments is I guess something that people love to hear on the Bob Dodd Show when we're talking about filming and stuff like that, like crazy stories or even fun stories. Do you have any like
I'll
stories?
give you a story from the live episode. So the live episode of ER was, the idea was that I don't know, I think they were doing they're supposed to be doing a news thing about the ER, or maybe it was a documentary, I can't remember. But you know, there's like 2 cameras that are with sort of reporters who were there or whatever. And one of the things about the show was they worked in a couple of accidents so that people watching the show live, because of course, why is everybody going to watch it live? Because they want to see it fall apart, right? So one of the things,
NASCAR, baby.
yeah, one of the things, and we did it for the East Coast, and then we had an hour off, or maybe 2 hours off, and then we did it for the West Coast live. So I guess maybe they showed it recorded to Central. I don't remember what they did. So we did it twice. And one of the things that was supposed to happen was my cameraman was like looking in one of the trauma rooms, and then we have a trauma coming in and whips around, and the gurney's coming at me, and I'm supposed to get pushed back, and the camera's supposed to hit the ground, and it's supposed to be so that people think that it's actually happened, but then they pick it up and keep going. And so we spent a lot of time, and obviously I can't throw a camera to the ground, and you know, so we spent a lot of time sort of like playing with how much to do it and how does it look like it bounces, and we spent a good amount of time with them in the control room, my ear going, make it look a little sloppier, like when you put it down to, you know, this whole thing. So we finally got it to where it was. East Coast, we do it, boom, goes off well, all good. West Coast, and I was zoomed in. So West Coast, I hear, you know, we got a trauma coming in, and I whip around. Now I'm on a long lens, so I can see, but it's, you know, it's out of focus and everything. And there was an extra there, and I hit her, not hard, but I hit her. I think it was a her. And just being who I am, I'm like, oh my God, I've hit someone. And I sort of went, oh, you know, and I'm looking. And as I'm doing that, of course, everything else is continuing to go. So the gurney comes at me like it's supposed to, and they don't think anything's wrong because I'm supposed to be there. And I realize it's coming up on me. So I start to backpedal. I start to zoom out, and they actually get too close to me. And so I just sort of bail sooner than I would have. And I get the camera down to the ground. It's clunkier than it probably should have been, but whatever. And I think, okay, we're back to where we were. So now we're good. So I go to pick the camera up, and it has this probably 2-inch diameter cable that there's a utility guy who's been cabling for me, and it gets hooked on the gurney, and the gurney is now going away from me. So they're now pulling the camera out of my hands. I can't get it up on my shoulder. I'm reaching forward, trying to grab the cable. My utility is behind me, but he can't get past me because this corridor is not very big. And I'm holding the handle of the camera, and I'm just pointing at people. I can't see what I'm pointing at, but I'm just sort of pointing it around, trying to grab this cable. And it's almost to the point where I'm going to lose it when Monte, who was one of the paramedics that's usually on our show, was on the end of the gurney. He told me this afterwards. He said, I looked down, I looked at the cable, I looked up at your eyes and saw the fear in your eyes, realized what was going on. He picks it up, pops it off the little post that it's on.
Yeah.
I'm able to throw it up on my shoulder, and I kind of made something up. I don't think I even did what I was supposed to, but then it's an act out, and you hear, and we're out. And I'm like, my head's spinning, and I look at Monte, and I'm like, thank you. And I hear all this cheering from the control room because everything. And Tommy comes on, Tommy, the director, comes on, and he goes, Dave, I do not know what just happened in there, but that was the most realistic thing you have ever, like, it looked like you were going to lose the camera. And I said, Tommy, I will tell you later on why it looked that well. But right now, I'm just glad you're happy. He goes, we loved it. And literally, and had that camera gotten pulled away, there was nothing to cut to. That would have been it. It would have been lying on the floor and whatever. So, things happen.
What's like, the decompression stage like for a camera operator, like your night? Because like camera operators, I mean, they don't get breaks.
We don't, especially if you're the A camera operator. Yeah.
You're on. You're on the whole, anywhere between, 12, 15, 16 hours, you're on.
Yep.
You might not be filming the whole entire time, but you're talking, you're doing stuff, you're planning. I mean, your mind is not shut off.
No.
At the end of the night, you're getting to your car. What's decompression like for a camera operator?
I mean, it all depends on what you're doing. I mean, I will tell you that 60% of the time, 70% of the time, I am going over in my head something that I wish I had done differently. Or I'm going home going, man, we did a really good day today. And then I'll hit a light and be like, oh God, I just figured that shot out. I should have done it this way. And you hate yourself for it. And sometimes it's hard to go to sleep with that. And the other thing is like, I'm not great at it, but I try, you're trying to listen to dialogue, and sometimes it's hard to get that out of your head. The thing that I remember used to be that I'm so glad it isn't anymore is you do a music video and you listen to that song for 12 hours and you'd be lying in bed at night, and it's good. And even, especially if it's a bad song, every word to it and every beat to it, you can't get it through. So, but I'll usually listen to music or something like that and just sort of try to chill out. I don't really know that I actively do anything, but to your point, especially when you're the A camera operator, even if everything is going forward and whatever, you're still trying to figure out what you missed, because you're constantly trying to go, what's going to derail me? You know, one of the things that I teach when I teach camera operators is whenever I look at a shot and I start to set up a shot, I go through there's a number of things, but the first two things I go through, I look for assassins and I look for opportunities. Assassins are things that are going to stop me from doing the shot. So sandbag on the floor, pothole, like physical things, mirror in the background, glass, like what's going to make it so I cannot do the shot. And then once you've hopefully attacked all those, but you constantly still have to be vigilant because the grips are going, can we bring this flag in a little more? And you have to watch it and go, I think I can get that out or whatever. Because everybody wants to do, the best they can. Is you look for opportunities, and that's just, how do we make this better and how do I tell this story better? And the thing about the opportunities is you never stop looking for opportunities, so you never sort of rest. And then and then wardrobe's coming up and going, you're going to see your back, and are we going to see this tattoo? And then makeup is saying, can I get in? It's just a huge thing, but it's part of the fun, but it is exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, like when I'm driving home, I'm just like, I just packed this truck. All six of us just packed this truck, and the van isn't here yet. And when it because you have so much to handle, I always sit there and think, like, what are they doing? Like, and I know most cameramen and women that I know, they think all the time.
It's mentally exhausting. It is.
That's why I wanted to know, like, what was the decompression like when you get home, and I mean, is there like a ritual that you do to try to help get you to go to sleep?
There probably should be, but I mean, the thing is, I'm usually so exhausted. It's not hard. The bigger thing is when I wake up in the middle of the night and I start to think, and then I remember some shot, and then I'm up, and that's the problem. Going to sleep usually isn't the problem. It's staying asleep is the problem.
Yeah.
But I think we all. I mean, it's not to say that everybody has a tough job on set, and I think the people who have tough jobs are the people who really care, right? Because you're always wondering, like, how can it be better?
Yeah. I feel super fortunate on the last handful of shows that I've been on. I feel like it's an anomaly, because I really feel like you hear from all the years I've been doing this, like you hear, oh, you only get 1 or 2 good shows in your career. And, then the rest of it's just a normal job work and stuff like that. I haven't had that experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like since Ozark, I came across all these projects that I would jump back on them if they existed again.
That's the way it should be. Right?
Yeah.
It isn't always, but that's great.
Yeah. And the last job that I worked on, I was with the Rigging Grips. And it was just such a good, it was a tough show. The production company was doing some things that, maybe the crew wasn't used to.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't a bad production. It wasn't a bad show or bad job. It's just we're doing things differently than we used to do before. So a lot of people weren't used to it.
Yeah. What's different?
Yeah. But the personalities and the people.
That's what makes
That's what
right?
made it awesome.
Well, I've gotten to the point, I've been doing this 35 years, and it's like, yeah, sure, I want to work on, good stories and blah, blah, blah. But really, I just want to work with good people. I want to work with people that I want to go to work with.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm on a show where I like all the people and just it's like, the rest is gravy, right? I mean, because and more so, we've all been on shows where it's like, some department head is not who you want, is not nice or whatever, and it's just like I don't have any tolerance for that anymore.
No,
life's too short.
It is too short, and I wish more people would bring in that levity of like where like, hey, we're all in it together.
Yeah,
but a lot of people sometimes get caught up with their everyday life.
And you got to let go of your ego and all those other things, I think.
Yeah. I wanted to just ask you, since you have the words on your the words section on the op.
Oh yeah.
Do you have some of your like favorite lingo that you like to use?
Favorite lingo that I like to use? I probably do, but
like for instance, because like camera operators, you're using like I don't get a chance to say, hey, we're going to shoot down the lens, or like when you're talking to a dolly grip, there's a language.
Yeah. The weird thing is I tend to forget what things are called a lot.
Sure.
So like I have this thing, and the assistants that I work with pretty quickly recognize that. So I have this thing that, you have a fluid head, right? That usually the camera's on and you pan and tilt it and whatever. So I have this thing that is sort of a metal bar. A guy named Jim Kendereva makes it. It's a metal bar that comes like this, comes like that, comes like that. And now you can put the camera down here so you can get it lower and offset and whatever. And it may have a name, but I don't know. So I call it the... and so they know what that is. And then he makes another thing where if you're on the head, you can just offset it like this. And I go, the thing that... And they go, yeah, I know what that is. So I forget what stuff is all the time. But other words, there's got to be... But I can't really think of anything right now.
That's cool, man. I told you I wouldn't stump you on anything.
Yeah, so. No, that's fine. It's one of those things that like when you're not in it. But I'm sure if I was working right now, I'd go, oh yeah, there's 20 things and whatever. Yeah.
When you're not working on films, what do you like to do?
Well, I work a lot on the website and the podcast. That's just natural. I like to ride my bike a lot. I go to the gym just because I'm 56 and I do a very physical job, so I better go to the gym. When I'm at home, we got 2 dogs, mess around with dogs, play in the yard. I actually just about 3-4 weeks ago, I decided I was going to like replant some trees in the yard. And then afterwards you get up from it and the next morning you wake up and you're like, what was I thinking? And then you're like limping for 2 days, your knee hurts and whatever.
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah.
That's cool. So, being that, I think that when I was looking you up, you have done a lot of interesting things. And, there was a story I came across about how, because you care about the environment. That's one of the things I remember in Ozark. I mean, you were very thoughtful when it came to plastics and things like that.
Try to be.
Yeah. There's a story about you that I think made some national news about you holding your trash for a while.
For a year, yeah. So in 2007, I was having a discussion with a friend. I think we were drinking beers in the backyard for all I remember. And, he had something and he said, I'm going to go throw this out. And he came back and I was sitting there and I said, that's really weird. And he said, what? And I said, throw this out. And he's like, what? And I tend to sort of like dwell on things sometimes. And I said, it's just kind of strange, but it's sort of accurate. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, if you throw it out, when you throw it out, you're literally just like throwing it out. Like, I don't know where it goes. And he goes, it goes out to the curb. And I'm like, yeah, but then someone picks it up and it goes somewhere else. Like, I don't even, and he goes, well, it goes to the dump. And I'm like, no, you're not missing. And so we started talking about it. He was like, well, if it went in the backyard. And I said, I wonder how much trash and then, well, I went in the backyard and so beginning of 2008 it was the writer's strike, right? That was the other thing is I decided that no matter what, you don't know whether a strike's going to be a week or a month or a year. If it was painting the house or collecting stamps or whatever, I was going to do something. So at least when it was done, my dad wouldn't say, what'd you do during the strike? And I go, well, I watched everything on Netflix. Like I had something to show for it. And so I just decided on a whim, and it was really just on a whim, that I would save all my trash and my recycling in my basement and see what happened. And I had some very specific rules in health and, I had a worm composter, so the food went in there, and actually we joke about it, but it was the truth. Like we had 2 young kids, we had a dog, and we had pet rats. So it was like, if there was leftover food, if the kids didn't eat it, we'd eat it. Sometimes you do that. If not, maybe goes to the dog. If not, it maybe goes to the rats. If the rats don't want it, it goes to the worms. But so, there were very specific things and whatever. And it's a long story, but I happened to be, I think maybe even New Year's Eve, or must have been before that, maybe Christmas. I was at a party and I sort of mentioned to someone that I was going to do this, and she was a reporter for the NPR. She had a show and she was like, can I have you on my show? And I'm like, sure, whatever. And that sort of took off. And then when I got to the 6-month mark, it became this huge thing. And there's a radio station in LA called K-Rock that got hold of it. And they had a show called Kevin and Bean in the morning. And they called me up beginning of the month and they were like, so you're nuts and your wife's going to leave you. And we want to basically talk to you every month and watch as your life devolves into nothingness. And I was like, great. And we would have a great time actually, because like they would make fun of me and I would make fun of them, but I would get like, a little tip in there or something I learned or whatever. And actually they were really nice, because at the end of the year, they had me in the studio for the last one, and I had my own theme song that they had created for me. And they did a takeoff on Candle in the Wind where they killed me off the show or whatever. But afterwards, actually, Kevin came up to me and he said, I just want to tell you, like we don't have a lot of guests who can like give it and take it as well as you. And I was like, dude, I work in the film industry. This is all we do all day. But, but still get something out there. But it was a really wild year because, I just did it because I wanted to learn. And by the end of the year, I had only created 28.5 pounds of trash compared to the average American, which is 1,600 pounds.
That's a lot.
And so, my thing was, look, I didn't drastically change my life. I was just more cognizant of it. So if by being more cognizant, I can get to 28.5, imagine the average person can at least get to like 800 or whatever, so I learned a lot. And then the other thing that's really fun, and I still I can't believe it, is I became a character on a kid show called Handy Manny. And it looks like me, and I did the voice. I did 3 episodes, and they wanted to sort of have this guy who put, electric motors in cars and taught kids about the environment. So, and I had a seminar I created called Chasing Sustainability that I taught to school kids all over the state and all over the country. And
didn't you change your car to biodiesel or something?
I had a was it a Volkswagen Golf that I changed over to run on used vegetable oil.
Yeah.
And that was part of it. And so, you know, it was sort of like just be a little smarter about it, you know?
Yeah, that's cool,
Yeah.
man.
It was neat. It was, and it really, I mean, at a certain point it was by design, but it really all kind of happened by me just going, I wonder.
You brought up the writer strike. And I'll wind down the podcast with this. The writer strike in 2008, I remember that. I started in 2007.
Yeah.
And I remember things not really like, I remember working. I had a relative that got me into the industry. So it was like, man, I'm in the movie industry now. Like, it's weird in Pittsburgh. You say that to people and they look at you like you're on drugs.
Yeah.
You know,
Mars.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I'm in the movie industry now. And, here I am. It's 2008 and there's like no work.
You got hit with it right off the bat, right? Yeah, that's got to be tough.
And well, I mean, I did so much other stuff. I'm always staying employed.
Yeah,
so
good.
But you know, at the time, you know, I all of the different roller coaster rides throughout Pittsburgh, and then coming to Atlanta, 2017, and the roller coaster ride here.
Yeah.
In the film industry, you plan to have gaps of employment.
You better.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're smart, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. So this gap that's been happening since the latest writer strike and actor, do you like, I have a question here. It's like, where's it at? Well, basically, do you remember a time like it being this hairy or like this big of a drought?
This is different. I mean, look, a strike is a strike is a strike and everything stops, but we're not in a strike right now. No, this is different. I think the landscape is changing. I think on a little bit of a level, maybe too many people are trying to do it, and that, you know, and we have less work and there's more work going overseas. That's definitely a problem, but there's, you know, it'll ebb and flow. And, I think if you get in this business and you think that it's always going to take care of you, you're probably, it's just, you know, that's a fool's errand. So I think you always have to have some sort of backup. I think you got to save your money, you know, and unfortunately sometimes that's not enough, but at least do that. And like I said earlier about getting into Steadicam, but I think it's the whole business. I mean, you have to like really, really love this business and want to do it because it's hard. And part of what, you know, is hard is the idea that there may not always be work, but, you know, there's someone that I know who called me up and he's like, man, I feel terrible, but I took a job driving Uber. And I said, why do you feel terrible? And he's like, well, because, you know, I said, dude, you're filling the gap until the next gig. Like, you know, it's not all or nothing. You're still an artist and you're still a storyteller. You just right now, I mean, you're taking care of your family and, you know, all that stuff. So I think a lot of it is the mentality.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it.
You know, I actually had to touch base with some people because I know that when COVID happened, you know, that wasn't a strike, but that was still a big dip. Yeah. Right.
Well, people were afraid then too. I mean, they're afraid now, but different.
But I had friends that, you know, when you work in the film industry for a certain amount of years and you're working as a grip or a camera person or whatever department you kind of put your life into, it becomes an identity to some extent.
That's a really interesting thing that you said because I've talked to people. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go for it.
No, but identity is like, you got to love this, but you can't let it define you. And the reason you can't let it define you is because you are not in control of employment. Yeah. I mean, if you let it define you that you're a cinematographer or whatever, then when you don't work, go and shoot your own things and it's still defining you, but you can't let someone else's choice define whether you're worthy or not, you know? Yeah. So I think that is true. I mean, look, identity wise, sure, I'm a Steadicam operator, but that's not who I am. I'm much more than that. So when I'm not doing Steadicam, I can do, you know, I have that other part. And I think it's the people who that's their entire life that's kind of dangerous. Yeah. Yeah.
Cause that's like one of the biggest things. I have friends who, during that time, I'm a grip. Nobody wants to hire a grip, you know, like I can't work for this construction company. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you are in construction. You're a grip.
It's exactly right. Yeah. And also, by the way, you're taking a job to, you know, keep a roof over your head or whatever. That's an honorable thing to do.
What do you want to sleep in a cardboard box, or do you want to sleep in your bed?
Yeah, and also I think in those times the thing to think about is like, yeah, I'm bummed I'm not doing what I dreamed about, but I did get to do what I dreamed about, and I'm gonna get to do it again. It's just right now, everything's fluid. I think
Totally,
that's the key.
It really, really is.
Yeah.
I wish that the folks that are out there that are part of the film industry here, I mean, never say never. There's ebbs and flows, and right now we're in a weird situation, but it's bound to come back around. Entertainment will never die.
That's true.
And if you are so like hell bent on being in the actual industry, maybe it's time to like pick up your own project and try to, I mean, I know funding is crazy, but try to start something yourself.
Make your own future. I mean, the thing about it is, look, this and a script. A script doesn't cost you any money. I mean, you got to do it well. And this, which everybody kind of has, you could tell a story.
Another thing too, like YouTube, you type in iPhone movie. There's a really cool DP. I forget his name. I'm trying to remember his name. I watched probably 4 videos about him making a movie on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Professionals are using iPhones.
Yeah. Well, but the other thing is I think that I think people get caught up on like the tech of all this and 8K and 6K and 9K and 12K. I don't care. Who cares about any of that? Look, like the movie Pi. Do you remember the movie Pi?
I remember the movie Pi.
It was shot on reversal 16mm stock that they like literally, Darren Aronofsky got the money from like some people in his synagogue to make that. It's like because he had a story to tell. And what makes that movie great is not the technology, it's the story.
Yeah.
And so if you can write a story and get an actor to help you tell that story that actually affects someone, it doesn't make a difference what it's shot on. That will cut through everything, you know. The rest is just gravy. So, anybody can tell a story.
Even if it's a crappy story, you might have fun doing it.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Get
the
a couple of your buddies.
Have a good time doing it, and hopefully it becomes something. And if it doesn't, you had a good time doing it.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on my show.
This was great.
I really can't even tell you how ecstatic I am. Even when anybody says that they'll come on, I'm just like, oh, that's awesome. This is amazing.
By the way, I'm the same way with my podcast. I'm like, really?
Yeah. So, thank you for coming on. Guys, you need to look out for him. Check out the op. It's an amazing. You can Spotify, Apple. Is there not anywhere else?
It's one of those things where I put it on the thing and it goes out everywhere. But if you just Google the Op podcast, you'll find it.
Yeah, and I'll have links in the description down below so you can follow. And do you do Facebook or Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, Malia, who I mentioned, does. I have an Instagram account which is the op.io, and there's stuff on there. Usually. Hopefully every week if I get to it. When we put a podcast out, there's a little trailer for it that goes on.
And check out Down Dave.
Dave's Down.
Dave's Down. Sorry, I'm sorry, dyslexic.
Yeah, no, hashtag Dave's Down on Instagram, which I'm not going to say anything more about. You can just see it. It's a stupid thing I started a long time ago.
It is not stupid. I look at it and it's fun. It is so fun.
Did you catch the one that's in the Ozark house?
I looked at like 3 of them last night.
If you go back, there's one from the Ozark house in the front door, which I was like, should I do this? And then I thought, you know what? I'll put the picture on after Ozark's done and whatever.
Oh, man. Anyway. I have to tell you a story. When we shut down, I'll tell you a story about someone I met about the Ozark house. But thanks for stopping by, guys. Like, subscribe, jump onto Spotify and Apple and make sure you're commenting on the op and downloading the op. It's seriously a window to what it's like to be a filmmaker, to be in the industry whatsoever.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. I mean, it really is. So thanks everybody for stopping by. We'll see you guys again later.
Cool.
Was that good?
I thought so. I think so.